Did you know that over half of the people who set goals for the new year have given up on them by February? Roughly 6 out of 10 people who set intentions or resolutions or goals for the new year quit before February even starts. I don't want that to be you, so today we're going to chat about how to keep up with our goals. Grab yourself a pen and something to write on, because we're going to make sure our goals get accomplished. To start this goal check-in, we're going to write down our goals. Hopefully you haven't forgotten what they are, but that's actually quite a common problem, whether that be forgetting what goals we set ourselves or just forgetting to keep them in mind when we're going about our daily lives. A lot of the goals we set require some kind of daily thought or daily action, so if we don't keep them in mind, we may end up making choices that work against the outcomes we're hoping to achieve. I'm writing my goals at the top here, so take a moment to write yours out too. At any point through this video, feel free to pause and take a moment to do the steps we're talking about. With your goals written down, it's time to look and see which ones we've made progress on or have been prioritizing, and which ones are feeling a bit neglected. You can do this by color coding, so maybe one color for a lot of progress, another for a little progress, and another for no progress yet, or you could rate them out of 5 in terms of how much work you've done on each goal. If you're using a 5-point scale, these descriptors might be helpful. This isn't an opportunity to judge yourself on how much progress you've made. It's just an opportunity to get clear about where we're at right now. For the goals that you've been prioritizing, that is awesome. It's great to have that progress under your belt. But what we're focusing on today though is keeping up with our goals, which really means we want to look at the ones that aren't really getting our attention. For those ones, we really need to identify what's wrong, or what's holding you back from making progress. Don't be vague about your answer here. The more specific you can be about what's not working, the more likely you'll be able to find a solution or a workaround. For instance, it's all good and well to say that we don't have enough time to work on our goals, but is time really the issue? Or is it not remembering to do the action steps? Or not prioritizing the thing you need to do? Or is the next action step too big and thus really time intensive? What's not working is going to be specific for you, so take some time to ask yourself, what is holding me back from making progress on my goal? To help answer this question, I also have some smaller or follow-up ones for you to prompt your thinking regarding what might be holding you back from making more progress. Again, this isn't an opportunity to beat ourselves up, because you and I both know that that's not a positive way to make us actually do things. Instead, we want to identify the issues so we can figure out ways we might be able to fix or work around them. Take some time, dig deep, and let's figure out what's not quite right for these goals. You can see I've written mine out here for each of the goals that I rated at either a 2 or a 3. I haven't focused on the 4s because those are the ones I'm making really good progress on, so I don't really need to identify what's not working because they are working. So for instance, I have my live streams. For instance, my gear isn't set up for those, so why pick a time to do the live streams when I'm not ready to do the streams? The next step is kind of involved. I probably need to make it simpler or kind of break it up into more steps. And lives make me nervous. Like, does my audience even want me to do lives? Or, if I'm going to do lives, what topics am I going to do them on? I need to kind of do that pre-planning before I kind of commit to the live streams, I suppose. I've also written out some points for hosting an in-person meetup, strengthening my JashiiCorrin community, and traveling to the US. Once we've got our ideas of what's not working though, then we can brainstorm ways to fix this. Some will be easy fixes, while others might need more thought. While I write down my ideas for how to make more progress on each of these goals, here are some ideas for addressing common goal problems. As we're all individuals, these fixes might not work specifically for your goals, but hopefully they give you a starting off point for how you can move forward. It's also worth noting that these ideas, as well as any of the other prompts that we're covering in this video, are available as a free printable. That one's linked in the description box below, and hopefully you'll find it helpful. In general though, while I'm writing out my fixes, it comes down to getting clear on what my next actions are, and making those actions smaller, easier, more fun, or even just scheduling specific times to work on them. For each of the reasons you've identified why your progress on your goals is slow or isn't happening, think of one thing that you can try to remedy this, and make a plan for actually doing it. While it's good to identify the thing you want to try in terms of a fix, it is so much better if you actually have a plan for doing that fix. For instance, rather than just saying to myself, I need to schedule the action of making a survey for live streaming times, I'll actually schedule it. Or, if I needed to make the action easier, rather than just telling myself to make it easier, I'll break it up into smaller steps. So not just make the survey, but rather pick the days of the week and the times that are suitable for me. Select what platform to host the survey on, develop the survey on that platform, etc. After determining how you're going to change your approach with regards to the goals that were getting neglected, it's time to consider our targets. What target or desired progress did you set yourself for this period, and is that still realistic? Let's tackle that one in two parts, starting with what the target was. If you didn't set yourself a target or expected outcome for this period, then this question is somewhat easy to answer. For my goals, I like to set clear intentions for how much progress I want to make in a given period of time, just as this really helps me see whether I am or am not making progress. I mainly use 3 periods of time, being a month, a quarter, and a year. I find that thinking too much further ahead can be really difficult, and if the time period is shorter than a month, it just feels too restrictive. As we talked about before, your period of time can be whatever length of time you gravitate towards, but for the purposes of this example, I'm going to look at a month. You can see what my targets were for each of the goals in the month based on my action steps. So for example, for our trip to the US in March, by the end of the month I wanted to have booked accommodation, I wanted to have decided on my itinerary, sorted out any forms that I needed to fill in. It's important to note that you don't have to make the same amount of progress on each of your goals in a set period of time. For instance, my live streaming goal has a target of getting me to a point where I've picked a time to do live streaming, whereas my US goal is a little bit more involved. Once you've reviewed your target or expected progress for the period, it's time to check whether this is still realistic. This will be based primarily on any progress you've made so far and the time you have left. For me, working on a monthly period of time, is it realistic to expect me to get all of these things done? Are there any targets that I want to reconsider? Or how can I change my desired progress to align with the progress I've made so far and the time I have left? It's okay to decide that all of them are still realistic with the time we have left, just as it's also okay to decide that maybe our targets were too ambitious. I'm still feeling like these are all realistic for the time I have left, even with having broken some of these actions down into smaller steps. There may still be some that don't quite get finished by the end of the month, but that's okay. Slow progress is better than no progress, and we'll review where we've gotten to at the end of this period. The next step for you may be summarizing the information you've written down into an action list or a collection that outlines your action steps to take for your goals in the remaining part of the period. I've got mine on this action list already, so I'm going to keep using this one to maintain my goal progress for the rest of the month. Hopefully this mid-month check-in process has been helpful for you, but if you're still working on setting your goals though, I have another process to help you out, which you can find in the top right. Or if you want to check out all of my goal-related content, the playlist at the bottom is where it's at. Click or tap on either of those and I'll see you over there.